Thank you. I'm now going to provide some introduction to the projects and provide a bit of context with respect to the previously completed environmental assessments for these projects. So in terms of project context for improvements to the Gardiner and Lakeshore Boulevard, a number of previous studies have been completed. The first of which is the provincially approved Gardiner Expressway Lakeshore Boulevard Reconfiguration EA and Urban Design Study that was completed in 2017. The focus of that study was really about improving the corridor from a number of perspectives, including traffic management, as well as facilitating a better movement for pedestrians and cyclists throughout the corridor. Certainly there's a number of existing conditions throughout the corridor which are not ideal, and the focus of the study was to explore improvements to the corridor from multiple perspectives. The second more recent study, which builds on the Gardiner EA, is the Lakeshore Boulevard Public Realm Vision Phasing and Implementation Plan, which was completed this year. And this study advances the concept, so the basic design that was developed through the Gardiner, which included the identification of the number of travel lanes required through the corridor, as well as sort of the basic configuration for cycle paths and walkways for pedestrians, and improvements to intersections and crossings, etc. The second more recent study was to advance that basic design with a focus on essentially the public realm improvements throughout the corridor, as well as advancing the public realm design. This particular study also identified a phasing and implementation plan, which I'll speak to a bit more in a minute. So in addition to those two studies, there has also been more recent detailed design work that has further advanced the designs and the concepts developed in the environmental assessment, including, for example, the intersections and the need for turning lanes, and sort of more micro adjustments of the design have been explored through this ongoing design work. So as part of the 2020 Public Realm Plan, a vision was developed for the corridor, and this image shows sort of the concept, and it's really to advance or to develop a more green corridor that certainly facilitates traffic movement through the corridor, but also encourages and provides opportunity for pedestrian movement, as well as cycle travel, primarily in an east-west direction throughout the corridor. And you'll note the design that was developed in the 2020 plan for the section of LSB east of the river, Don River, assumed that the harbor lead line would remain along the north side of the corridor. So this design that's in this 2020 plan reflects that assumption. There has been some further thinking about the harbor lead line that has influenced the public realm design east of the river, and those changes are being shown in subsequent slides of this. So the focus of the work is today that we're talking about is the section of the corridor that extends from the Don River east over to Carla. So that's highlighted in the green area identified as project area. So that's the focus of the work that the City and Waterfront Toronto is proposing to advance now. So as part of the previous environmental assessments and the other studies, which have been ongoing for in excess of 10 years, there has been a significant amount of public consultation that has occurred that has strongly influenced the concepts and the design that has been proposed for improvements to the corridor. And the consultation was associated with the Gardner LSB reconfiguration EA, as well as the more recent public realm vision work, primarily through working sessions with the Stakeholder Advisory Committee. And then finally, an extensive amount of ongoing consultation has occurred as part of the larger Portland's flood production. To guide the improvements throughout the corridor, a number of objectives were developed for which provided essentially the context for the study, and greatly influenced the ultimate design. These objectives included, first, to design an urban civic boulevard with a distinct continuous landscape identity. Second, prioritize traffic calming measures and enhance public realm experience and safety. Third, improve east-west connectivity through rebalanced multimodal mobility. Fourth, improve north-south connectivity through enhanced intersections. And then finally, design for sustainable operation and maintenance for public realm. So all 5 objectives have strongly influenced the concepts and the design that are now being proposed for the court. So the next couple of images are being shown just to provide you with a little bit of context and an indication of what ultimately the improved corridor will look like once the project is implemented. This rendering is east of Cherry Street, looking west, and it's on the north side of Lakeshore Boulevard, just south of the Metrolinx rail corridor. So showing the proposed bikeway and pedestrian paths and a very generous planted landscaped corridor. And then on the south side, we have less room to work with. Nevertheless, still a proposal for a greening of the corridor within the available space and providing a wide pedestrian walkway between existing buildings to the south and the eastbound Lakeshore travel lanes that are shown in the image to the right. So as part of the 2021 plan, a phasing or implementation plan was also developed. And recognizing the long linear nature of the project, as well as the other numerous projects and activities that are occurring in the general area, has always been the intention that the improvements to the corridor would be phased over time. And the main reason for that is to allow for coordination with other projects and to take advantage of opportunities for integration with other projects, as well as to minimize disruption throughout the implementation period. So, as shown in the drawing on this slide, the first phase for this project has been identified as the section of LSB that extends from the Don River crossing east over to Carlaw. That's being identified as the phase 1 for the project, and the implementation period that's currently proposed is to start next year in 2021 and extend to 2024. And then after phase 1 is implemented, other sections of the project would come online, just depending on other activities in the area. So I talked about in the previous slide other projects that are occurring, the need for integration. So with this eastern section of LSB, again from the river over to Carlaw, what the opportunity that's now presenting itself is to integrate the design and delivery of 2 different projects, approved environmental assessments, as part of the Portland's flood production project. And really the overlap here is the Lakeshore Don River Bridge, and then east of the bridge along Lakeshore Boulevard, extending as far as Carla Avenue. So in regards to the Gardner Expressway, Lakeshore Boulevard East Reconfiguration Environmental Assessment, the scope of that project, in relation to the bridge, the scope was really about a widening of the bridge to allow for the required 6 road vehicle travel lanes, plus room for walkways or sidewalks and a multi-use trail. And the assumption with these improvements is that the overhead Gardner ramps, or Logan ramps as they're referred to, would be removed to allow for the construction of these bridge improvements. And then along with the bridge improvements, there would also be a reconfiguration of Lakeshore Boulevard East, which with the removal of the Logan ramps would now allow for the consolidation of the eastbound and westbound Lakeshore Boulevard lanes into a more sort of traditional roadway configuration. And then with respect to the Donmouth Naturalization and Portland's Flood Protection Project, as identified in the EA for that project, the improvements to the bridge are focused on facilitating better river flow conveyance. So it's about adding additional bays under the bridge to allow for river flow. As well, the improvements to the bridge were also identified as part of the Lower Donlands Infrastructure Master Plan and Keating Channel Precinct Environmental Study Report. So again, there's been a number of studies and plans done in the area that have all consistently identified for the improvements to this bridge. So in combining these 2 projects, 2 environmental assessments, what is now the scope of the project? So starting with the Lakeshore Boulevard Bridge over the Don River, what is being proposed is that essentially the bridge would be reconstructed to allow for 2 additional spans to facilitate river flow, as well as a widening of the bridge to allow for the 6 roadway travel lanes, a left turn lane to allow access to the Don roadway, as well as sidewalks and a multi-use trail, as well as the improvements to allow flood conveyance, so increasing or adding another 2 spans bays for the bridge. And the assumption being that the overhead Gardner ramps would be removed to facilitate the reconstruction of that bridge. And with the removal of the Logan ramps, this now also provides the opportunity to reconfigure Lakeshore Boulevard from the river over to Carla. And in addition to bringing the road lanes, the east and west bound road lanes together, there would also be an opportunity to improve public realm through this corridor. And as I indicated earlier, the previous assumption regarding the Harbor Lead rail line that currently runs along the north side of the corridor, that previously the assumption was that Harbor Lead line would remain in place. The proposal now is to relocate the Harbor Lead line to the center of the reconfigured Lakeshore Boulevard roadway lane, so situated between the eastbound and westbound lanes. And through that relocation, it now provides additional space on the north side of the corridor that allow for even more public realm improvements, which are being illustrated in additional slides. So why combine these projects? We've identified a number of benefits by combining these projects, including a shorter construction period, shorter period of traffic disruption during construction, be safer, reduce costs, no interim conditions along Lakeshore Boulevard. So that would mean part of the project is constructed, then there is a gap, and then the remainder of the project would be constructed. diving a little deeper into these project benefits. First, duration of construction. If the two projects were constructed separately, we'd be looking at a total construction period of about 5.5 years. By combining the projects together, the total construction period is now 3.5 years. So that's to result in approximately reduction of the construction period and traffic disruption by about 2 years. Secondly, timing to deliver. If the two projects are constructed separately, the earliest that this construction would be completed is estimated to be 2028. By combining them, the new estimated completion date is now 2024. So we're seeing these benefits being delivered 4 years earlier. Next, level of risk. And this is primarily related to construction risk. If the projects are constructed separately, the overhead gardener ramps would be left in place. And working around the support structure for the ramps is considered to be of high risk because the structural stability for the overhead ramps needs to be maintained. And working around those supports is considered to have some risks associated with it. As well, because of the increased complexity in working around the assumed structures still in place, that does present some risk to the schedule. So it could in fact result in a longer construction period than what is currently estimated. If the two projects are combined, the overhead gardener ramps are removed, that completely eliminates any risk associated with maintaining the integrity of the structure. And secondly, it also significantly reduces the schedule risk. So we move from a medium to a low risk to the schedule. Next, cost savings. By combining the two projects, it's estimated that the total cost of the projects is reduced by $34 million. And then finally, safety. Safety primarily related to the movement of traffic during construction. With the overhead gardener Logan ramps in place, there is some safety risks due to the presence of the gardener vents and having to work road detours around and in close proximity to the vents. If those vents or support columns are removed, then risk to traffic is greatly. And then finally, just talk briefly about the proposed schedule. So the work for next year, so 2021, is largely focused on traffic management. So how to manage traffic during the construction period to maintain an adequate flow of traffic through the corridor, which would include the development and the finalization of the traffic mitigation plan in winter 2021, and then completing the traffic mitigation or required detours by fall of next year. With the traffic mitigation in place, then the Logan ramps, so the overhead ramps to the gardener, would be closed, and the demolition of those ramps would occur. With the ramps removed, then the initial focus would then be on the eastbound lanes. So to first remove those eastbound lanes and then to rebuild the eastbound lanes along the bridge. And then once the eastbound lanes are completed, construction then focuses on the westbound, removing westbound lanes and then reconstructing the westbound lane, an estimated completion for construction by winter 2024. So I think at this point, I'd like to invite Jonathan to present the proposed roadway design. Thank you.
So the next few slides will be about the roadway design for the alternative case of the Lakeshore Boulevard project, and we'll cover some of the improvements that we are doing to Lakeshore Boulevard from Don Roadway to Carlaw, as well as the improvements that we are making to the new or reconstructed intersections. The layout and alignment of Lakeshore Boulevard East reconstruction has been determined from a number of inputs. The roadway of this project will be a 6-lane landscape boulevard with generous medians, as set out per the council-approved Gardner Expressway and Lakeshore Boulevard East reconfiguration EA. The image on the right here is a cross-section of Lakeshore from this EA. Additionally, roadway design is in accordance with city guidelines, industry standards, and best practices, and also incorporates feedback from previous public and stakeholder comments. The lane widths have been set and maximized in accordance with the city's lane widths guideline for high truck volumes. The design has also incorporated input from city staff that are leading adjacent future projects, such as the East Harbor development and McCleary District. Lastly, the design respects that Lakeshore Boulevard East is to remain an arterial road that will continue servicing high volumes of truck traffic, industrial fleets, and goods movement, as well as regular vehicles into the future. As an arterial road, the roadway is further designed with no restrictions for the trucks. So this slide's about the existing and planned cycling infrastructure, and in particular the infrastructure that we're providing on Lakeshore Boulevard East. The reconstruction of Lakeshore Boulevard East is also in coordination with existing and planned cycle infrastructure in the Portlands. A 3.6 meter dedicated bidirectional bike trail will be provided along the north side of Lakeshore Boulevard to connect the future improved Lakeshore Boulevard Trail that is west of the Don River to the existing Lower Don Recreation Trail that is east of Carla Avenue. At Don Roadway, a key connection will also be provided to the Portland Cycling Trail, which extends down Don Roadway into the Portlands. As the East Harbor property is developed, the bike trail will also be able to connect to new trails north of Lakeshore Boulevard at Don Roadway and at the future Broadview Avenue extension. The geometry of the new and reconstructed intersections is in accordance with city and industry standards. Additional enhancements are included to improve the crossings for cyclists and pedestrians, such as dedicated waiting areas and cyclist crossing signals. The location of intersections is specified in accordance with, in coordination with the city on the needs of future development in the area and provides improved connectivity to the future public realm along Don Roadway and to the existing McCleary Park. The image on the right here is a pedestrian network map from the Unilever Precinct Planning Framework, which shows the proposed intersections for the development of the East Harbor. Lastly, traffic modeling has also been employed to optimize the design of the intersections and maximize the throughput of vehicles along Lakeshore Boulevard East and through the intersections. Intersection designs. 3 key intersections are being constructed or reconstructed as part of this project. 2 intersections are being reconstructed, which are at Don Roadway and Carla Avenue, while 1 new intersection is to be provided at Booth Avenue. Currently, there are no intersections between Don Roadway to Carla Avenue. The location of intersections for future developments are shown with the dashed lines, just east of Don Roadway and just west of Booth Avenue. And the following slides will provide a closer look at the intersections provided in this project. So this slide is just a bit of some background on the existing intersections or the location of where we are providing new intersections. The existing intersections have been identified to be suboptimal for pedestrian and cyclist crossing, and it has been noted that improvements can be made. The existing Don Roadway intersection, which is shown in the images on the left here, is shadowed by the Gardner elevated structure at all approaches, which obstructs visibility of the intersection. For cyclists, there is only a shared crossing at the north side for the Lower Don Recreation Trail, which is also used by pedestrians. The crossing of Lakeshore Boulevard East is also only available on the east side of the intersection, and it's provided only for pedestrians. Waiting areas for the crossings also have limited space for the pedestrians and cyclists alike. At Booth Avenue, the existing condition of which is shown in the middle image here, there is no existing intersection, and only westbound Lakeshore can be accessed from Booth. Lastly, on the right here, which are the images of the existing condition at Carla Avenue, The Harbor lead line shifts from the north side of Lakeshore Boulevard to the middle of Lakeshore Boulevard, just west of the intersection. It is further important to note that the minor unsignalized intersections to the side streets between Don Road and Carlisle Avenue, which have not been represented by these images, have also been identified to be unsafe for the crossing of pedestrians and cyclists, and it is the intent of this project to improve those conditions as well. So next slide, we'll discuss more about the new designs of the intersections. Oops. Sorry. At the Don Roadway intersection, the north side is to suit the existing condition of Don Roadway, while the south side is coordinated with the future reconstruction of Don Roadway. This intersection will connect cycle trails along Lakeshore Boulevard east to the future one along Don Roadway towards the River Valley Park. The intersection is also designed to provide safe crossings for cyclists and pedestrians on all sides, with dedicated waiting areas for each mode of travel. To further enhance the crossings, leading signal intervals are proposed for the north to south movement of pedestrians and cyclists, which will increase their visibility and safety as they make the crossing. The geometry of the intersections is also determined in accordance with the city's curb radii guideline and truck turning analysis. The curb radii are set so that trucks do not track over the curb, bicycle trail, or sidewalk to complete a turn. Given the high volume of heavy trucks that is forecasted to go to and come from the DVP, the north corners of the Don Roadway intersection are designed using a WB20 or a tractor semi-trailer, which is the largest truck for turning analysis. A medium single unit truck has been used for determining the geometry of all other intersections, except for the south corners of Don Roadway and Carlisle Avenue. At the south corners of Don Roadway, the intersection geometry has been laid out in coordination with the reconstruction of Don Roadway, while at Carlisle Avenue, the intersection geometry is set to match existing conditions. At Booth Avenue, a new controlled intersection will be provided in coordination with the city's future developments. The intersection will have an extra wide pedestrian crossing of Lakeshore to provide additional space for the potential crossing of dismounted cyclists wishing to access McCleary Park. At McCleary Park, stairs and a ramp will be provided to bring pedestrians to the existing sidewalk so that the existing mature elm trees can be preserved. It should also be noted that the existing sidewalk to the park is to be widened as a part of this project. At Carlisle Avenue, the new dedicated cycling trail on the north side of Lakeshore will tie into the existing one that is east of Carlisle Avenue through a new at-grade cross ride. The intersection will be reconstructed with improved crosswalks and pedestrian waiting areas. Since the Harbor lead line track is also being relocated to the median of Lakeshore Boulevard, the tie-in to the existing track on the east side of the intersection will also be reconstructed. In coordination with the public realm design that is west of the Don River, this project will also provide enhanced pedestrian and cycle markings to increase their visibility to motorists. Crosswalks are increased from 3 meters standard width to 6 meters wide for this project, where space allows, while all cross rides will be widened to match the width of the cycle trail.
Thanks, Mira. You can get started. The opening slide just reviews some of the feedback that we looked at from the PLFP Roads team public consultation. I'll just wait for the slide to catch up here. Yeah. Where the public provided feedback mostly on the public realm design of cycling infrastructure. And the main points summarized here are that there was a strong emphasis on separated cycling paths, both from vehicles and pedestrian traffic for safety reasons. Having a physical barrier that separates cyclists from traffic was identified as the most important feature to help cyclists feel safer. And there's a number of ideas that were listed here. Higher barriers, such as planters that physically prevent cars from entering bike paths, was the most preferred option. Extra separation and robust barriers contribute to safety and feeling safe also feeling good were very important. Clear and separated bicycle and pedestrian paths are preferred, and that's the approach that we've taken in this project. And that visual cues can help indicate separation between modes. And so I'll explain as I go through the public realm design how we've accommodated for this feedback. Next. Sorry, Mira.
Are you having a
Are
delay
we
on
on
your
slide
end?
38? Yeah, sorry. I think it
yeah,
was,
no
I turned my
worries.
video off.
Yeah, if that helps.
So I'm going to present the project in 5 slices, 5 zoomed in areas today, each with a plan and a typical section to explain the quality of the public realm. In the eastern part of the project, you can see that there's a future improvement zone, which will be added to the public realm as a setback to adjacent development when those come online. Next. So Area 1 in the Lakeshore Boulevard Bridge, here we have, you see on the north side of the bridge, separated cycling path and pedestrian sidewalk, a new sidewalk. And on the south side, a generous 4-meter pedestrian sidewalk that connects to the future Water's Edge Promenade to the west and to the Dawn Roadway Promenade on the east side. Next. The main dimensions that we've carried throughout the project are a 3.6 meter wide bi-directional cycle path on the north side with a minimum of 2.2 meter wide pedestrian sidewalk on the north side. And then on the south side, you see on the bridge, it's 4 meters. As we continue through the project, we've tried to achieve a minimum of 3 meters on the south side for the pedestrian sidewalk. Between Dawn Roadway to Salter Street, you can see here that the Harbor Lead rail line is its location north of Lakeshore Boulevard into the center median, which is the condition east of Carlisle Avenue. In doing so, the Harbor Lead rail line frees up, so to speak, extra space on the north side for generous public realm in line with the vision for Lakeshore Boulevard East, with generous planting between each of the modes of movement, cycling, pedestrian, and vehicular. And on the south side, you can see that here, yeah, with the transition zone, you have a bit more green space on the south, just immediately east of Dawn Roadway. There's a number of future roads that Jonathan mentioned that are plugging into the project. At these intersections, what we've done to try and future-proof the public realm is put in fast-growing, smaller species of trees and shrubs. As we know that sometime in the future they will get taken out of the vision. We've tried to align the pedestrian and cycling pathways as close to what we perceive a future intersection might function as, and we've paved the Harbor Lead rail line in cast-in-place concrete instead of rail ballast through the future intersection. Next. So here you see the condition with the Harbor Lead rail line and where the cycling path is immediately adjacent to the vehicular traffic. We've managed to put in a 1 meter distance of separation, also with a crash-proof barrier to make cyclists feel safe as they're moving in the opposite direction from cars. Next. Between Salter and Bouchette Street, here you see the continuation on the north side of this linear park condition with generous bicycle and pedestrian paths running side by side. Again, the future proofing of the pathways, the planting, and the rail line for the future Broadview intersection. And on the south side, a continuous public realm with planted area immediately next to the roadway to create a bit of a buffer for pedestrians. Next. So this is the section through this area where each mode of movement is separated by green planting with trees. Next. At McCleary Park, Jonathan already mentioned we were trying to preserve the existing elm trees on the south side, which lend a lot of character to the district. So the sidewalk here comes south of the trees. And here we transition from a linear park condition to a more constrained condition with side-by-side bicycle and pedestrian paths, and the separation between the bike path and the vehicular traffic is again with a barrier. And you see the future setback area again on the north side, which will contribute to a broadened public realm in the future condition. Yeah, and we'll go to the next slide. So here the constrained condition on the north side continues all the way to Carla Avenue, where then it opens up again into a linear park condition, and that's outside the scope of the project. And on the south side, again, a continuous boulevard condition. And here is the meeting point of the Harbor Lead rail line existing and the relocated median condition. Next. The character of Lakeshore Boulevard east of Carla Avenue matches the condition we are now going to build. So in that it has separate bidirectional cycling trails and a pedestrian sidewalk at the north side with a landscaped linear planted park as well. And on the south side, the formal boulevard layout of the planting and sidewalk and the Harbor Lead rail line in the median. So a bit more detail on the public realm design materials and how everything functions together. And also a little bit about the stormwater. We're introducing soil cells underneath the concrete pedestrian pathways to help infiltrate water and help tree growth and provide soil volume. In the median, there's a meadow condition alongside the rail ballast and the Harbor Lead rail line. And on the North Boulevard, all of the planted areas are raised above the roadway to give a sense of separation from the roadway, and structural soil will be used underneath the hardscapes to provide nutrient and oxygen exchange for the trees. Next. There's a bit more detail on the south side. We're using cast-in-place concrete sidewalks, soil cells, concrete curbs and gutters, and diverse planting in the green strip between the vehicles and the pedestrians. In the median, we have robust drought and salt-tolerant meadow species, which will potentially self-seed over time also into the Harbor Lead rail line as it is today. And on the north side, in the linear park condition, again, concrete sidewalk, asphalt trail, concrete curb and gutters, and a robust planting plan, which I'll get into more detail next. We're interested to hear what you think of the design for the barrier between the vehicular traffic and the cycling trail in constrained areas. There will be a rolled curb immediately next to the cyclists who are traveling eastbound while the vehicles are going westbound. And there will be a crash-tested to the TL4 level straight profile barrier that provides safety, comfort, and protection for cyclists. We propose to improve the quality and the delight of the public realm experience by integrating color through the form of tiles and a handrail that help give additional height to the rail and transparency. We're also like to seek feedback on the two pocket park areas, which we're designing within the linear parking. See, they're highlighted in bright pink on the north side here, where the pedestrian sidewalk will open up a little bit and there will be a connection where it kisses the bicycle path in order to provide a place for rest and to have a drink of water and take care of your child for people who are using the trails on busy days. There will be special paving again at these areas, and also some additional furnishings such as a drinking fountain and a trash can to service the area. The public realm planting is made in sort of 5 zones. We wanted to make a really salt wind tolerant buffer next to the roadways where it's really difficult for plants to survive. And then in the medians to create a meadow that could handle snow storage and also flourish on its own with very minimal to no maintenance. And then where we are moving a little further away from the road, kind of mini forest planting typology, and then in the pink where we have a more formal streetscape typology where we have very constrained geometry but still wanted to put in some trees to improve the public realm. Next. So we've thought about how this will look over time. with a managed succession kind of feeling, and would like to have as little to no maintenance as possible in this area while maintaining as much biodiversity as possible. Next. The lighting strategy is to use the public roadway lighting as much as possible, especially because our sidewalks and bicycle paths are fairly close to the roadway. And in the areas where the pedestrian pathway is a bit further from the roadway, in order to encourage to provide safe environment and also encourage people to use the area at night, we would like to propose a separate pedestrian level lighting within the linear park. And to close out the presentation, I have some images of what the public realm will look like, namely on the north side of the project. So this is in the linear park looking west at Booth intersection. The second image is within the kind of constrained area between Booth and Carlisle Avenue, again looking west. And here you see the future landscape setback area and the barrier and design. Next. And lastly, a seasonal variation in experience. And this is again in the linear park, traveling east this time. Thank you.